evocative as the base material?
Well, I think I would talk about it as sort of like inspired by or an adaptation of or something like that, because the main thing that I think that got me started on thinking that maybe this is a movie that I should make is the opening scene of the film, where I was sitting there with my child sweetheart and my husband of many years, and I was translating between these two men who were, if it wasn't for me, they would have no reason to know each other, let alone try to get to know each other. And to me, I have felt a tremendous amount of power in that situation, and there's something about that, feelings of powerfulness or something really special passed through me. And to me, I was like, that was sort of the initial impulse for it. So I think beyond that, I think everything else is about less about like what is exactly like my life or something like that, but a little bit more like, well, what does it feel like to be a person? What does it feel like to be a human being? That's more of a thing that was guiding me.
Yeah, that scene is my favorite, and it's sort of the emotional bookend to the film. And you know, I've totally been guilty of that. You're sitting in a bar and you look over there and you're like, who are those people to each other? And finding that connection and that story that could have been so different.
So to me, it really was the feeling of the mystery or like the detective story part of it, where it is meant to implicate the audience and sort of immerse the audience into being like, yeah, don't you guys want to know what they're like? And I think it really was from the moment where I was sitting there with my child sweetheart and my husband, and I was looking around the bar and I was seeing the patrons of the bar and the other guests. The patrons of the bar and then the people who were serving us drinks look at us and he's like, who the hell are they to each other? And I was like, oh man, if only if I could freaking tell you, you know? And then I was like, well, why don't I actually tell you? What if I actually took the time to explain? So that's when I sort of figured out the structure of the film. I thought you should start with the mystery, to start with the implication. That's why the breaking the fourth wall happens. And then by the time that we're back in that scene, the audience has the answer, right? The audience has the really complex answer of who these three people are to each other.
Well, but they may not even fully know who they are to each other. Because there's so much, you know, the film is so much about that idea of, you know, what is love? What is fate? What is sort of the destiny, and those big questions, but in such an intimate way that you can answer it differently almost any other day.
Well, I think that really does feel like how we live our lives all the time, which is that it is a series of really small, intimate moments that leave somewhere between little marking and a big marking, and then at the end of it, it sort of comes together in this story that is an epic story of who you are. So I think it is both should be a big and small, because I think that's actually true about people. We are all big and small in that way, I think.
Your casting is impeccable. Like, it's, I mean, especially incredibly, you
just can't do it without, you just can't make a movie that feels and is like this without actors working at their highest level and firing on all cylinders. And I'm a first-time filmmaker. Part of it has to be a trust that I had to earn, but it's also this trust that was given. So much of it is like, you know, some of those scenes, like one in the kitchen or the bathroom, where it is really one scene and we're just watching it or something like that. It's like something like that can't be done if like any of them can't work like that with me.
So can you tell us a little bit about the production? We were talking, A24 came on very, very early in the process. And so what was it like, one, to work with a company that really supported you, and two, to film essentially during these last 3 or 4 years?
Mm-hmm. Well, I think what I am so grateful with A24 is mainly that even though I'm a first-time filmmaker, I was given the creative control and creative power throughout the entire thing, so I could have my authorial voice be the thing that's guiding through all of it. And part of it is just the freedom that I had to be like, okay, I'm not going to worry about what the studio needs, what money needs, or something like that. I'm going to think about how to tell the story the best that I can. So much to me, I'm like, that was what was amazing about it. And also, and then of course we had to stop imagining that we can do the movie in 2020. I mean in March 2020 I was thinking that I was going to shoot this movie the summer of 2020. And then those hopes were dashed because you just realized the pandemic isn't something that was going to be done in 3 weeks.
So you come to film via the theater, and I'd love to hear a little bit about how you translated some of those some of that imagination and those skills into film.
Well, I actually found that the most important thing that I need to be able to do, I already had a ton of experience and have a lot of skill sets in theater, which is story, character, how to put together a scene, how to block. So there are some things that I could just feel like would carry over to filmmaking pretty smoothly. And the parts that are really hard, that are new about filmmaking, some of those things are just things that I just was excited to be better at every day. And at the end of the day, even those things can be solved easily if we just went back to story and character, which I have done plenty of it, right?
So the concept of India, such a central line of connection to your characters, did you discover that while you were working on it, or did you set out sort of with that in the back of your mind?
So the concept of inyan is a pretty commonplace or a pretty mundane sort of phrase in Korea. So I feel like I kind of grew up in whatever connection I have to Korean culture. Inyan is just a part of every speech. So Nora's right when she says it's just something Koreans say, just do something, right? Because you couldn't really say that about anyone. I feel like I can say this about every single person in this room who saw this movie and is now we're having a conversation. I certainly can say this about you because you saw the movie and then you invited me to be here. So inyan is something where it is both the person who brings you a cup of water when you are thirsty and also your mother. So the depth of the inyan is different, right? So your mother and you have a really tight and intense inyan compared to the person who just comes by to grab a glass of water and maybe you never see that person again. But I think what's really powerful about the idea of inyan, which is that every connection that happens in our lives has weight and has meaning and is not something to be dismissed as, oh, that person is nothing to me. It's more like even the person who walks by you and brushes up against you, you can imagine, no, I think that happened because we've known each other for a long time and it is a miraculous thing that we are encountering each other in this life, no matter how fleeting. And I think it's such a really powerful concept. So from the beginning, I knew that, because the relationship we have with Nora is ineffable. There's no really a word to describe it except that they are inyan in some way, right? There's no other word to really describe the feeling they have. So I think it was always part of the movie.
Did your characters change as you wrote them? You go in and you're like, these characters are going to be sort of like this. But as you wrote them and then as your actors were inhabiting them, did they change?
I think when the actors come on board, I think that's usually when the characters start to speak on its own, right, in a way? Because it is very much a collaboration at this point. And there might be an idea of that person in your brain that you were thinking about when you're working on it on the page, and then I feel like when you encounter a living, breathing person who is also a craftsperson and has work that they have to do and have to work with them every day, sometimes it is going to shift so that they can wear it well. So that's part of the directing process. That's the part of directing them, which is to be it is what is important to me more than anything is for the performances to be immersive. And for audiences to forget that this is an actor doing a performance, but it's a little bit more like, I want to know about this character's story. So it's a very giving thing. So the least you could do is for the characters to give something back to those actors too.
You can really feel them embracing that concept of love. Because there's, I mean, that final scene, which gets me every time, you know, that is true love, but it's also true hope. And it makes your heart have to work a little bit to get into that. And I'm wondering if you can tell us a little bit about sort of working your actors through that feeling.
Well, I think it is so easy to sort of think about love in terms of dating or acquiring or losing. There's a lot of language about like who's gonna win. If it's three people in a love story, who's gonna get the person? Like there is a lot of interesting thing that happens, I think, in a lot of love stories, what is called love stories, where it is about actually about the competition or like the capitalism of it. And I think it's like this movie, what was really important to me is for it to feel like how love really exists for us, for people. And to me, it was something where every step of the way, it is something that I'm working on with the actors. Where the actors, the impulse is to chase the drama or chase the certain kinds of emotions that are a little bit accessible. And every time I'm like, yes, but you love this person, so you wouldn't do that. And part of why you wouldn't do that is because you are going to put their feelings first. You're not going to insist on your own feeling being the most important one. And to me, I feel like that's just the way that we are capable of giving love too. I mean, I talk about the movie sometimes as like a story about people who we know are children inside, which I think all of us are have children, have a child in us. But it's about three people trying really, really hard to be adults and to be good to each other and to care for each other and to show deep love and show love like an adult. And a part of that is love isn't just something that you say like, well, I love you, so you know, so you better be mine. It's actually so much more about I know what you have is a life of your own, and I respect that, and I have room for that, and I'm going to be patient, and I'm going to put my own anxieties and feelings and like that aside briefly when you need space and time too. And I think, to me, I'm like, yeah, I think love can be something that, and I also think that that's how most of us experience love, but I think you just rarely see it on screen.
Was there anything? Was there anything you conceived of or shot that didn't make it into the final film?
I feel like most of those things are like transitional things. Like I feel like Hezron, after we first were introduced to him with him drinking with his friends, we shot like 3 separate like shots of like him going home drunk. And we thought it would be beautiful, and we had to shoot it in Korea, so it looked beautiful. And he was in one of the early cuts, and we're just sitting there watching him drunk going home. But there was a real moment where I was like, why are we watching him going home drunk? If you just wake up next day hungover, we'll know how he got home. So it's just funny things like that. It's more like when Nora is going to Montauk, I was like, I don't know, this is so funny to me, but maybe it's not funny to you, let's see, but it's like I basically tried to recreate the Google Maps direction of how to get to Montauk. So like I realized at the edit that I had shot like every step it takes for you to get to Montauk. Like I shot the subway, I shot the train, like I shot everything, and I was like, what did I do that for? Like, I'm a filmmaker, you can tell the story in a poetic way instead of literally being literal. So I think those are the scenes that make it click.
They're such extraordinary characters. I want to know what happens to them. I mean, I'm not saying Cosmos 2 or anything like that.
Well, to me, I think that something that as I was talking to Teo Yu, who's plays this about the final moment where he's driving. To me, in that scene, he was asking, like, what is this performance you need from this? And I was like, well, you're tired. and you're at peace because you finally came here to do the thing that you want to do. Because the movie is about, I talk about it sometimes as confirmation of death movie, where it's, like the CSI, like lift a sheet, and the person is like, it is them, and you confirm that it is them, right? it is that kind of, to me, it's Hesam flew 13 hours to be here so that both Nora and Hesam can, first of all, acknowledge that that little girl existed, and then to say goodbye to that little girl. The movie is in 3 goodbyes, and 2 of those goodbyes are bad ones, and 1 of the goodbyes is a good one, and that's the one that sticks. That's what is the film, right? The first time they say goodbye, they're too young, so they don't know how to say it properly. Second time, they're also too young, so they do it in a way that's a little bit heartbreaking. And then finally, when we see them at the end of the movie, and this is why when we flash back for a moment to their childhood, it's still in the dark. In real life, when they say goodbye to each other in childhood, it was during the day. But when we flash back to it, it is at night, because what it means is the goodbye, the final goodbye, is one that they were owed as children, right? Which they finally get to do. So it was as though those kids were waiting for them to have this final goodbye, in the corner where we left them, where they left each other. So to me, I'm like, that's what is extraordinary about the thing, is that Hesam flew 13 hours to be here so that they could really think about that little girl and to that little boy, right? So, and what she's grieving as she's walking home, it is of course the life that she didn't live, all the possibilities of being an adult and everything like that as well, but I know that one of the really important things that she is grieving is the little girl that she never got to grieve. I think Hesam flew 13 hours to be here so that Nora could grieve that little girl, right? So after this amazing, extraordinary thing happens, I think everything goes back to how things are, and it's as if nothing really happened, almost. It's like, I think Nora and Arthur are going to go upstairs and they're going to continue living their lives, and then Hesam's going to go back to Korea, and they're going to, and then he's going to figure out what to do with his girlfriend, The party is bursting out. Yeah, and I think it's the other part of it is the thing about the walk home is that when we found the location where we were trying to shoot it, my DP asked me which direction they should walk. And I said that they should walk in the direction of, they should come down and they should walk from right to left, because that is how timeline works, right? You walk towards the past like that. And then you get there and then you stay there and you stay there for 2 minutes, and then you leave Hesam in the past, and then Hesam gets in the car and the car goes this way, right? Back into the past. And what's amazing is miraculously when we're shooting, it didn't have a wind machine, but the wind sort of blows your dress in the direction of the past, which is full of miracles. It's one of those filmmaking miracles. You're like, oh my god, why did we get a wind machine? It's miraculous. We need to turn on the wind machine, but we didn't have a wind machine, but wind just did it for us. It's the perfect thing for us. So you can't pay for that. It's a miracle. And then you push, and then she of course stands there and she gathers herself and she turns around and she starts walking towards the present and the future, right? And we're just in that walk together until we're back there where her present is, where her husband is there and her home is there, and then they go home together. And then the final scene of the film, when Hesam is in the car and he's driving, it's also important that he was driving from left to right, because he is also moving on too. So to me, when I'm not thinking about what's happening after this, it's like what's happening after this is going to be inconceivable. No one except for these 3 people are going to know what has changed, right? Because it's a soul change, it's an internal change. It's not a visible, tangible change.
So, what are you working on now? Because we cannot wait to have you back here. Just
I fell in love with it so much making this movie. I fell in love with it. I fell in love with it's my new lover, so it's so amazing.
So Past Lives opens this summer across the nation.
June 16th in Seattle.
So how can people follow along and tell all their friends that live, throughout the country? How can people follow along, like a website or Instagram?
I do have an Instagram, but I think it's like there's a Past Lives movie Instagram that I feel like that.
Yeah.
But I feel like if you just search Past Lives movie, you'll find stuff on there. Okay, you'll get to know all about it. It'll be great. But I think what matters is like it's a movie. I feel like it's so amazing to be playing in this incredible theater and everything, but it still at the end of the day is a movie that needs word of mouth and needs people to be talking about it, and it still needs that kind of really community support more than anything, which I think is so amazing that I get to talk about it here. So I think at the end of the day, that's really what I'm asking.
And we'll be opening it on the 16th of June at the Uptown. So definitely follow along and come and make it the biggest opening weekend we've ever had. Celine, thank you so much for coming and being a beautiful friend. And now, let's celebrate.